Hi, welcome to Popcorns and Perspectives number 4. I'm Kirti.
I'm Rajni.
I'm Ashley.
In episode 4 of Post, the plot was around the testing of HIV by having a blood test depicting the number of their T cells inside them. Damien is shown to have the flu, and it was revealed that he didn't have protective sex, which causes a great scare in them. Angie mentions how the symptoms are typically starting off with a normal day, then a bad flu, then you slowly start deteriorating or you drop dead. This scare pushes Damien, Ricky, a friend, and Praytel to go get tested. It was revealed that Praytel had the virus and he did not tell anyone other than Blanca, so he won't have to worry anyone and live life to the fullest.
The focus of the film Contagion is on the outbreak of the new MEV1 virus and how the pandemic affects the society in it. The public health officials and medical researchers try to find the vaccine while the public reacts in a panic mode. The film's characters are Dr. Ortniza, Mitch, Alan, and Dr. Cheevers. Mitch's wife, Beth, gets the virus when she travels abroad to China and accidentally brings it back to her to the US, which then acts in a domino effect and affects many other people. Other medical researchers, such as Dr. Ortniza and Dr. Cheevers, try to discover a vaccine, while Alan, a conspiracy theorist, tries to also find the cure and spread more information against the government on his blog. Contagion is the communication of disease from one person to another by close contact. The term contagion means to infect someone with the disease and how quickly the disease is spreading.
The contagion in the movie Contagion is the MEV1 virus, which is transmitted through the infection of the respiratory system. Dr. Hextall finds out through the research that the virus is a genetic material from both pig and bat-borne viruses. Other scientists determine that the virus is spreading by respiratory droplets. When the virus mutates, the reproduction number is 4, meaning that 1 in 12 people will be affected by the virus. The scientists also find out that there's a 25 to 35% of a mortality rate.
The contagion in the show Post is HIV. HIV is a virus which affects the immune system. If HIV in a person goes untreated, it can kill the CD4 cells, which make up part of the immune system. This will eventually lead to the body getting various types of infections and cancers as the immune system becomes weak. Also, if HIV is not treated, this can cause AIDS. In the early 1980s, people thought that HIV only spread among gay individuals through sexual intercourse. Because of this, the disease was originally called gay-related immune deficiency, but later on, there were cases of females getting this virus, which helped debunk the idea that this virus only spread among gay people.
The film Contagion would also show pretty realistic as they shown all aspects of people dealing with it. From the public health officials and the medical researchers to the general public, they gave the audience of the movie a good representation of what would it be like to deal with the virus. It was a bit dramatized at times because it is a movie and needs to have entertainment value. Show Pose was very realistic as it showed the Black LGBTQ plus community dealing with HIV during the 1980s, when there was a lot of stigma and fear surrounding HIV and the LGBTQ plus community. Although the movie didn't focus that much on the scientific side of the virus, it showed how people dealt with the virus socially and personally.
At the time, people didn't know that the contagion of HIV is spread through blood transfusion, sharing needles, or through childbirth, and they thought that HIV was only through same sexual intercourse, which caused discrimination against the LGBTQ community, like Rachni described earlier. And this caused more discrimination due to fear because of the infection of the virus. Between the two movies that we watched, we believe that Pose gave a more realistic approach to the pandemic because it is unfortunately characterized the majority of the carriers of the disease and discriminated against them. In Pose, it was with HIV/AIDS pandemic, and it categorized the gay community with it. And with the current COVID-19 pandemic, it characterized Asian people or those from Asian descent and had discriminated against them.
The contagion in each movie affects each society differently. In Pose, HIV/AIDS is a taboo topic, so the people who are contracted the disease choose not to share the diagnosis openly. For example, Blanca, the main character in the first episode, learns that she is HIV positive, but decides not to tell anyone but Pray Tell.
In Pose, these depictions are more realistic because many of the people are more discriminated against, and some of the nurses in the show are rude to them. Pray Tell also learns that he has HIV in the fourth episode, but he chooses not to tell anyone other than Blanca.
In Contagion, because it is a pandemic and many people get it, there's no fear around talking about the issue. So it is easily discussed, which causes more panic and fear for many more people. The virus in Contagion also causes more panic for the general public because it can be easily contracted through transportation in the touch or air.
In Pose, only people belonging to the LGBT plus community are shown fearing for it because the show is based around the LGBT plus community and how it is a common issue that they had to deal with at the time.
Underrepresentation of members of the LGBTQ community and underrepresentation of people of color as something we noticed in The Contagion. In The Contagion, there were no members of LGBTQ community shown affected with the virus, while in the show Pose, the main cast are all in the LGBTQ plus spectrum and some are affected by HIV or AIDS.
Also, there was an underrepresentation of people of color in the contagion. There were some people, such as one of the government officers, who was shown, and he belonged to people of color, but mostly everyone was white in the movie.
In the show Pose, there were mostly people of color and the issues they may have to deal with shown.
In Rosenblatt's article, The Terror Management Theory, it talks about how, it's a theory on how many people behave when they know that either something out of their control is coming their way, or if not, how to react when they know that their time or death is coming soon. For example, we see from Blanca's perspective, because when she finds out that she has tested positive for HIV, she is more determined and driven to start her own house, and she does more acts of kindness and giving out advice. For example, she helps out a young homeless dancer named Damien and takes him under her wing.
This is an issue that people of that belong to the LGBTQ plus community and people of color are not involved in the contagion because it acts like these people are not affected by the virus, and also they don't show their reactions to the virus, which is problematic because people that in the audience that represent these communities might not feel like they're important enough to be acknowledged, or that they won't know how to survive in these kind of pandemics. Our film about COVID-19 starts off by showing Mrs. Wang, an Asian worker in the Wuhan market. As usual, she opens up her stall and sets up her produce to start the day. A Chinese resident is served bat by Mrs. Wang. Alex, an African American student from the US, is in China on a study abroad trip. He stops at Mrs. Wang's stall where she's serving bat. Alex happens to stand next to the middle aged man. The rest of the movie focuses on what happens to Alex as he travels back home to the US and how COVID-19 spreads across the US. Alex's boyfriend, Marco, an Italian exchange student, greets Alex at the airport and spends time with him over spring break. After COVID increases, Marco is forced to go back to Italy, which results in the increase of the virus there too. The movie focuses on the rise of COVID and the effects it has on Alex's family, especially a single mother who loses her job. It also shows the government's involvement and the way they try to resolve the issue of the virus. Spoiler alert, they don't do a very good job. In an article on Variety, they discuss how Contagion, the movie, shows the breaking down of society. An example of this is when Mitch's daughter has prom at home due to shelter-in-place orders. This is a reality for us currently. In our movie, too, we will show how the world comes to a halt due to the effects of COVID. Our movie will take place mostly in the US, but will also show bits of how the world is reacting to it in Italy and in China, which have one of the largest numbers of cases. The film will take place along the timelines of October 2019 through early 2021 to show how much the world has changed because of the virus.
To explain the meaning of contagion in my film, I would explain it as any other airborne disease, like how it spreads through touch, droplets in the atmosphere, breathing in enclosed spaces, not properly washing your hands or covering your mouth, touching your face constantly. I would show simple day-to-day objects that one touches, such as a cell phone, computers, elevator buttons, street light buttons, handles, and started off by someone not washing their hands or not covering their face properly, not using their elbow but rather their hands when they sneeze or cough.